India-Bangladesh relations just got a lot worse. For the first time, Bangladesh is threatening India's national defense and security by deploying Turkish Baykar or Bayraktar drones along India's borders.
बांग्लादेश ने डिप्लॉय कर दिया है टर्की का बायरक्तर ड्रोन।
बायरक्तार TB2 ड्रोन को भारत की सीमा पर तैनात कर दिया है।
यूनुस सरकार ने पश्चिम बंगाल से लगती सीमा पर अपना किलर ड्रोन उतार दिया है।
Now, this report by India Today created quite a buzz and was immediately picked up by multiple publications. Has Bangladesh dared to threaten India? Indian military and border security forces reportedly also stepped up counter-surveillance. After all, New Delhi cannot allow the religious violence and unrest within neighboring Bangladesh to spill over into India. Prime Minister Modi has now sent his messenger to Dhaka with a firm warning for Yunus.
Some regrettable incidents of attacks on cultural, religious and diplomatic properties.
Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri added, quote, "We discussed recent developments and I conveyed our concerns, including those related to the safety and welfare of minorities. Today's discussions have given both of us the opportunity to take stock of our relations, and I appreciate the opportunity today to have a frank, candid and constructive exchange of views," unquote. Reports suggested New Delhi is particularly concerned over Bangladeshi extremist and terrorist elements sneaking inside West Bengal. This follows reports that Bangladesh border guards crossed the red line by entering India to stop a temple renovation project in Assam's Sri Bhumi district. Some reports citing sources claim the reason for the Bangladeshi opposition was that the site of a Hindu temple would be offensive to insecure Bangladeshi Muslims and create communal unrest. Now that's a reflection of what's happening inside Bangladesh under the interim Yunus government. Hindu temples are being attacked, Hindu idols burnt and vandalized, violent mobs targeting homes of Hindu families, and religious persecution reaching extreme levels. And there is ample video proof showing Islamist mobs surrounding temples and attacking them and all those inside. All this while UN Chief Antonio Guterres is hiding behind closed doors. Guterres, who has been so vocal about the plight of Palestinians, now is missing in action. He hasn't uttered a single word for the protection of Hindus and Hindu families facing violent attacks by extremist mobs in Bangladesh. But if Bangladesh has now deployed Turkish Bayraktar drones and threatened India, then that would be the last straw. The Modi government has made it clear it will never compromise India's national security. But what are these Bayraktar drones and do they really pose a threat to India? Reports suggest the drones are being operated under the command of the 67th Army of Bangladesh. These drones got international focus and fame after they were used in the Nagorno-Karabakh war as Azerbaijan decimated Armenian forces who were armed with less maneuverable Russian-origin T-72 tanks as well as Russian stationary artillery systems. Having a maximum speed of about 230 miles per hour, these drones are capable of vanquishing modern tanks with laser-guided missiles. The TB2 can penetrate deep inside enemy territory and has an operational range of nearly 300 kilometers and a flight time of over 24 hours. Given their small size and low sound, it can be a major challenge for India to track such drones due to the topography of the border region that traverses through mountains, rivers, and dense forests. Meant for intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance purposes, the drones have prompted the Indian Border Security Force to ramp up its own surveillance along the border with Bangladesh, as it remains cautious about strategic implications. Reportedly, defense sources have not ruled out the possibility of an Indian military retaliation who might deploy drones like Israeli origin head-on at the border, as well as intensify counter-drone operations in sensitive regions. A senior defense official was quoted by India Today saying, quote, "After Hasina's ouster, the border areas have seen a surge in anti-India elements. The combination of political instability and advanced UAV deployments near Indian borders requires heightened vigilance," unquote. The far superior Indian military has adequate protection against such drones in the form of S-400 air defense system as well as the indigenous Akash air defense shield. India can also deploy the Zen anti-drone system which New Delhi has exported to Armenia. So at the military level, the threat is minimal. However, Bangladesh could still use such drones for surveillance purposes near the Siliguri corridor or the Chicken Neck and pass on sensitive information to enemy states like China or Pakistan, for example. However, Bangladeshi media has termed the India Today report as fake news and refuted claims of any Turkish drones being targeted towards India. But what can we expect? If Bangladesh has secretly deployed Bayraktar drones, then they are not going to own it up. Another report claimed Bangladesh's opposition to temple construction was a case of misunderstanding, as the Bangladesh guards wanted to check if any defense work is being carried out by India just 120 yards from the international border. A report quoted a BSF official claiming that Bangladesh guards will not dare to commit such a grave mistake of entering India. However, atrocities continue unabated on Hindu citizens as temples, mainly ISKCON ones in Bangladesh, are being vandalized and burned down. Radharaman Das, Vice President of ISKCON Kolkata, said, quote, "Today in the wee hours, our center and temple were burnt down. We are deeply pained. Another ISKCON Namhatta center burned down in Bangladesh. The deities of Sri Sri Lakshmi Narayan and all items inside the temple were burned down completely. The center is located in Dhaka," unquote. Reports of such attacks are emerging daily, with the latest one being that of Mahabhagya Lakshmi Narayan Mandir located near Dhaka, where attackers burned down all the idols. In another incident, several hundred slogan-shouting people hurled bricks at the structures at 3 more temples in Bangladesh's Chittagong the previous week. Such attacks even forced Bangladesh's exiled Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to issue her first public address, in which she accused the head of Bangladesh's interim government, Muhammad Yunus, of perpetrating genocide and failing to protect Hindus. In a virtual address to supporters of her Awami League, Hasina on the 5th of December said, quote, "Today, I am being accused of genocide. In reality, Yunus has been involved in a genocide in a meticulously designed manner. The masterminds, the student coordinators, and Yunus are behind this genocide," unquote. India-Bangladesh ties hit a new low after the persecution of Hindus and arrest of Hindu monk Chinmoy Krishna on charges of sedition, triggering a backlash from Indian political groups. But Hindus, it seems, have lost all legal and constitutional protection within Bangladesh. No lawyer has been assigned, nor has any lawyer turned up to defend Chinmoy Krishna, a right that is guaranteed to everyone in a democratic nation. This follows reports that a lawyer was killed over suspicion that he was going to represent the Hindu monk in court. Later reports confirmed this to be untrue. The lawyer was indeed hacked to death by an Islamist mob, but he was not the official representative of the Hindu monk. Meanwhile, many Hindu-owned shops, including jewelry shops, were looted by the police, army, and Muslim mobs. The attacks on Hindus has caused outrage in India, and the Delhi NCR region witnessed protests by hundreds of people blaming Bangladesh interim government for being a silent spectator to the destruction of the Hindu community. Protesters in Kolkata set fire to Bangladesh origin saris and goods, calling for a complete boycott of Bangladeshi products. The unrest in Bangladesh, which started as a student protest, has now completely sidelined the students and instead been taken over by extremists. It won't be surprising if in a few years Bangladesh slips back into the Stone Age and turns into another Afghanistan where minorities and women are not allowed to hold any jobs, show their faces, or even talk to each other. The Indian government so far has avoided escalation and has sent Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri on first official visit since Hasina's ouster to hold talks with the interim government in Dhaka. Earlier, MEA spokesperson Randhir Jaiswal had said, quote, "Our position on the matter is very clear. The interim government must live up to its responsibility of protecting all minorities," unquote. All this threat coming from a nation who owes its very existence to India. In 1971, 3,900 Indian troops laid down their lives to defeat Pakistan and win Bangladesh's independence, who had been facing mass murder and genocide at the hands of Islamabad, leading to a surrender by General Niazi to India after 8,000 casualties. and the capture of 93,000 Pakistani prisoners of war in what remains the largest surrender by any army since the World War II. But just 2 generations later, Bangladesh seems to have forgotten its history and is persecuting its own minorities and threatening India. So should the Indian government continue its policy of restraint, or should New Delhi take a more active stance and steps to ensure the safety of minorities and Hindus in Bangladesh? Leave a comment with your opinion, hit the like button and subscribe to Inconnect News.